First and foremost, acknowledging our ancestors that were taken from Africa, spread across the Americas. We are one people, one revolution, above it all. Also acknowledging the ground that all of us are stepping on, belonging to the indigenous people, that we all may learn lessons from them and how they treat this earth. I was shattered. Tears streamed from my face as I called my supervisor because I could not return to finish my shift. He came through the back door and he held on to me while I collapsed in his arms. He held me like a brother. Before I tell you what happened next, I must tell you what happened first. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Y'all remember the first time that you heard Prince? I don't know if I can remember the first time, but I can remember the first time I seen him in his purple majesty, tight clothes, sometimes wearing them ass chaps, brothers out there dancing, hitting falsetto notes, grooving in ways that I ain't never seen black men move before, and I needed to see something like this coming from where I came from, see. My father and I kiss each other. We hold hands and we hug one another. We speak ways that are tenderly to each other. When I think about the most beautiful hands, I'm thinking of his. Flashback to my father's childhood. He's 3, 4 years old, running down the sidewalk towards my grandfather coming towards him in the Tucson Police Department detective, first black detective uniform. As he's running to tell him, I love you, Pop. I want to be like you. Trying to embrace him, and at arm's length, my grandfather tells him, men don't hug each other. We do not say, I love you. You don't want to be like me. He walks on by. My father took that pain to his pillow and made vows that when he grew up, he would be different to his children. This was Sugar Hill back in the 50s, which is one of the red line districts where blacks were allowed to have property, have assets. In that time frame, we couldn't just live wherever we wanted to live, be wherever we wanted to be, go to school wherever we wanted to go to school. Tucson has not been a welcoming place to black people and still is not. Tucson treats black people like, y'all ever been in a room and the air conditioning is on and everybody's feeling comfortable and someone opens up the door and you turn around and you're like, you close the door, you're letting that hot air in? That's what it's like when black people start speaking the truth around here. Sometimes it could be a little much to know that your truth is what is letting the hot air in. And so black men coming from this kind of black patriarchy, also this kind of violence that's been internalized in our bodies, where we're followed by the police, where we're followed by friends, we're followed by family, we're followed by each other. It tells us that we cannot be vulnerable. It teaches us we can't be tender. We can't let our vigilance down. We can't let our guard down. Like when I was a teenager, going on stage at the Juneteenth, getting ready to perform, we say, what's up, Tucson? And all of a sudden, pop, 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 gunshots ripped through the crowd. And a man who I now call friend had to spend years in prison. These are the kind of things that we're confronted with that make it difficult for us to overcome the same challenges that many men now face. Going back to my childhood, I remember my father and I, we would part ways and I would give him hugs and I would give him a kiss, tell him I love you, and I'm getting ready to get on the school bus. I must be in like 3rd grade. You know, I go to the back of the bus, chilling. People are in front of me, blocking the way to the monitor, blocking the way to the driver, blocking the way to the door, and they laughing, and they clowning me. They're saying, are you and your dad fags? I didn't know what that meant. So I asked the person who wasn't laughing, and they let me know. I knew not to be ashamed, because I knew that in their eyes I saw something yearning. But they were missing something that I had. And I never really lost that as I grew up through the years, coming into teenagers. And my friends would come home, they would see me and my father in our affectionate ways, right? And they would talk to me, clown, you know, like while we out there rolling them, well, what's up with you and your pops, man? You know, and I'm just telling them, hey, we love each other. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I love you, brother. They would talk to me by themselves, tell me I'm the only man that they said I love you to. I'm the only man that they felt comfortable embracing. I'm the only man that they could speak to in this way. I carried that with me as I searched for some different type of manhood that I could connect to. And I went to church, pastors. I heard ways that they spoke about forgiveness. It lifted my spirits, made me feel like this is what I want. Confession, one brother to the next. You know, we could speak our truth to one another, and this is good. We don't have to be perfect. Still something missing, though. And so as I tried to search my way through manhood, I consistently kept hitting my head. And the things that were happening in my life, in my relationships, and the people that were living with me were struggling to connect to the real heart and soul of Anton. And when my choices, my experiences culminated into me being laid out, literally, into the bottom of my life, right? And I'm on my back. In your mind, I'm on my back. And the heel of reality is above my esophagus, telling me not to breathe, not to say another word. I'm jobless, I'm homeless, lost my ability to get my career that I was in. And it's here that I found a glimmer, the thing that was missing. I didn't know how to ask for support. See, when someone's breaking a toxic cycle, like what patriarchy is, it's folded itself into both femininity and masculinity, then one thing that we all do is we have to find just one little part that we can hold responsible to say, I'm gonna change that. My pop said, I'm gonna take the part that says I can't be affectionate, I'm gonna change that. And he did that with me. He left me work. So I got that, and I took this part in myself and I say, I'm gonna start asking intentionally for support. More than confession about what I've done, but support for what I need here moving forward. Got a new job at a place that most of y'all love. For proprietary reasons, I don't think I'm gonna say the name. And at this place, I opened the conversation with my bosses, and I told them about what was happening in my life, what was happening in my spirit. I spoke to very close friends that I made there at work. I spoke to men that were in my life, showing up like brothers. When I was in a moment of crisis, rather than having something to ask for forgiveness later, I said, I need help right now. This was the part that was missing. This is the part that had me laid out, like y'all saw in your mind. So going back to what I said at the beginning, he came through the door, and I'm sobbing into his shirt. He let me cry, and he asked me, what do you need? And I told him, I want to go home. I want to reach out to a brother, and I want to spend some time with him. And I want to lean on him for some support, because I need help moving through this. We had a conversation beforehand that let him know exactly what it was that I was needing from him. I needed an opportunity to come back, because one thing that we all need is the opportunity to build up self-esteem. Self-esteem comes from the opportunity to have confidence, and confidence comes from showing up. So I needed to come back, and he knew that, and he told me, go home, come back tomorrow. And I went and saw my partner. He spent 3 days with me. I don't know what he was planning to do that day, but he spent 3 hours, made this whole day for me. And even in that conversation, he let me know, I'll see you again. Wasn't the last time. I needed support again. I called another brother. He came over to my house while I was in the midst of it. Spent time with me and my son. Reached out to my son and told him, you call me next time you feel like he needs help and you don't feel like he's calling. My son hadn't had to make that call because he calls him. They call each other. So now, I'm looking at my life and I'm saying, I got the next part, asking for support. The next part, showing up for one another. And I know now that in this moment, I'm enough. But there's a much more brighter future to believe in. I want to dedicate tonight's story of mine. For the past 7 days, it's been difficult for me to write. The passing of my favorite storyteller, Toni Morrison, has been heavy on my soul. So as I go to blow out this candle, I'm just going to ask that we all have a moment of silence to honor and revere a most enigmatic person who lifted all of us, and especially Black culture, into a place that it could never again be touched or spoiled. I say.